Hey everybody, it's Paul Ramsey and I'm joined by Brenda Titus, who is presenting 2 sessions on the same topic at the 2017 NGH convention. She's going to do a 1 hour on 10 keys to working with adolescents, and that's so you can sort of dip your toe in the water. That's on August 11th at 4 p.m. That's the Friday of the convention. She's going to do a 2 hour on Saturday from 11 to 1 for those of you who want to get deeper into it, take the deep dive. And she's going to do that with you on Saturday from 11 to 1. How are you, Brenda?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure. So how did you get into hypnotism? We've never talked before. Tell me about your life.
Yeah, so before I was in hypnosis, I actually, my background is in criminology, criminal justice, and working with victims of crime. And I worked there for 15 years. And my primary clientele was teens, actually, because I was working specifically with people who'd been sexually assaulted, and so kind of a younger population. And I was going through a sudden and unexpected career change, and kind of had one of those, oh no, what am I going to do with my life situations. And during that time, actually, my husband is a psychology teacher, and he teaches high school psychology. And he had registered. He kind of said, you know what, I'm interested in learning more about hypnosis. You know, it's not something that they really teach us, so I want to be able to teach this better. And so he'd done some research, and he had found a trainer who was local at the time, which is Cal Banyan. And he said, hey, I'm going to take this 2-week training. Well, then I went through my career change, and my husband said, well, we've already spent the money, and maybe this would be something that would be interesting to you. And at the very least, it would help you, kind of cope and deal with the sudden change and everything. And so I started learning about, what I'd be learning and what I'd be able to do in hypnosis. And I kind of went, this is what I want to do. This is awesome. Cool. And so I took my 2-week training. And that was in 2012. So just about 5 years ago, I took my 2-week training, and kind of just how everything had worked out at the time. The way that Cal Center ran at the time is that he rented offices, hypnosis offices there in his center, and he had an opening, and I needed a place to open my office. And so I actually started my practice there, and I was there for 4.5 years. There I ran my practice, but I rented at their office. And so I really got a great experience of being a new hypnotist, being able to get really exposed to, it would have never occurred to me to have submitted as a brand new hypnotist to, I have, been teaching at the NGH convention for, I think this is my 4th year. I've actually got a journal article that was published several years ago. So I've gotten to do a lot of really neat things. Nice. And so then last year when I went to the convention, actually I had my own teen moment as I'm thinking about, working with teens. And I said, well, it's time to leave the nest. I got to, grow up and get my own office and all that stuff. And so I left the convention, and I kind of set a goal for my, this year. And so I opened my own office, and that's where I am today. I love it. And I'm just really thrilled. And I'm happy to be here today to talk about working with teens.
Good for you. Very cool. So, I mean, your sort of history that you just gave us, gives us the clue to why this topic, but tell me just a little bit more in your own words about why you think this topic is important enough that you wanted to take the time to do the 1 hour and the 2 hour about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So, every year when I go to the convention, I'm thinking about, okay, how do I want to grow? What do I need? Where are my, things and across the spectrum, so business and client base and inspiration and all of those things. So I'm always thinking, okay, how do I need to grow for this year? So that is, important to me. And so I'm always looking, what's being offered. And then I think about, what's missing, so to speak. And I know that I see lots of things about, working with children, but we'll see things here and there about working with teens. And the thing is that teens are very different. They are a different animal than children, and they are certainly different than adults. And they're really this kind of, you've got to, kind of have some more clear protocols about how you work with teens so that you can empower them to, prepare for adulthood, but also recognizing that sometimes they're still minors, or even I really think about too, I very aware this last year as I've worked with teens and preparing for this, also young adults as well, where sometimes they're still treated like children. And so that was a lot of where I thought that would be a valuable topic.
That's an interesting point you bring up about legal adults who still are sort of that. There's a real cultural shift. I used to be an English teacher, and then I worked at a university in residential life. I ran a dorm building, and even back then, teaching was 96 to 99, and the dorm work was 99 to 2005. And I would say, particularly when I was doing the dorm work, running the dorm, we all talked on our staff. We had 20 different residence halls at our university. And we had a real common theme that would come up over and over again about this idea of extended adolescence.
Yes.
That, which was really the beginning of what today people call helicopter parenting. We were really at the front end when I was working in Res Life. We're at the front end of that. And I think it goes beyond helicopter parenting, but that was the key behavior that we saw that was really leading to students coming to us, maybe not being as well prepared as they could be to be independent and to be grown up, really, right? And so there's a whole lot of ways that affects their development and their autonomy and stuff like that. So I think it's great that you're recognizing that and really thinking about how to work with clients who have that issue, because it's a very different issue than what other folks, may be facing at different points in their development of their life journey. So that's cool.
I'm so glad to hear that, actually, because, it's that validation of that, it's like I look at it and, even this year as I was seeing clients, I had one girl, two kids, same age kids, right? I keep saying that. And they were both in college. And one was like the only way that this guy was going to show up was literally escorted by his parents, and he'd already graduated from college. And then I'd have others that were, hadn't even started college, and they completely did all interactions completely independently. So it's a really interesting, dynamic going on there. Yeah.
There's some serious, if you don't spend time in that world, it's easy to not realize how pervasive it really is. But I mean, we used to have stories about because we talked with folks in other departments. And so we'd hear stories of advising about how brand new first year student, 18 years old, shows up at their first advisor meeting, and the parent not only shows up with them, right, when they should be starting to do these things on their own, but the student sat in the parent's lap, stuff like that. You're like, what is going on? And there's a lot of attachment stuff that hasn't been sorted out, and there's a lot of different stuff like that, and that all has it spider webs into their other aspects of their life. So tell me about what do you think the people who come and they do either the 1 hour or the 2 hour, they spend that time with you, excuse me, what you're going to teach them? How's it going to help them go back and be more effective with clients?
Perfect. That's great. So today I wanted to especially be able to take note. I know that we all have so many things that we want to attend at convention, and picking and choosing and all of those things. And when I wrote my proposals, there was, so much that I wanted to talk about, about teens. And this was my first time that I got a 2 hour accepted. And I thought, oh my, so I knew that in 2 hours I could cover it more, more in depth. So what I did is that my 1 hour, I called the 10 keys to working with teens. And I want to talk about, there's no scripts, there's no how to hypnotize teens, this is really about, these are the issues that teens are dealing with, or these are things that you need to be thinking about when working with teens. And so I do a lot of, when I was on the podcast with Cal, I would commonly do 10 keys to whatever, and so I think about things in that way. And so I thought, 10 keys to working with teens. And so I kind of set up And so that's my 1 hour, and I have it, it's like boom, 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 boom. And then the 2 hour still incorporates those 10 keys, but it's far more in depth. And there's so much more that I get to talk about, because we do get to talk about the developmental issues. And I don't mean like child development, but I mean, think about, the difference between being in junior high and preparing for high school, or even the things that early high school kids deal with versus approaching towards the end, or the difference between being a freshman and a senior, and and thinking about, just like we talked about preparing for college, and and all of the things involved in that. So the 10 keys really gets down to some best practices things. Because of my history in rape crisis, I have so much that it's so important to think about with confidentiality and keeping that separation. We know says when we talk about working with children, but it's a whole other dynamic when you're dealing with teens, because you're talking about different kinds of issues, and what and how you manage with the parents. So, I thought about, we think about that value of coming and, to my sessions, and we talk so much, so commonly I'll read journal articles and they'll say, hypnosis from cradle to grave, right? And you think about all the different, eras of our lives. And like I said, I just feel that this is an area that I hadn't really seen, tapped into too much. Actually, a few years ago, I had written a 4-part journal series on working with teens. And so at some point I'll make that available to people, and it will be more in depth even than what we cover. It's, it's all in writing as well. So I spent a whole year writing for a particular journal, where each time so it helped me, kind of coalesce my things to prepare for this. One of the things that I realized the other day, though, is how helpful, even for stage hypnotists, to be able to come to a presentation like this. One of the things that it occurred to me. So the other day, I chaperoned grad night for my husband's school, right? And so we're there, and our local tradition is very commonly we go to Disneyland, and so we were at Disneyland for. I checked into the school at 7:15 a.m. and checked out of the school at 3:30 a.m. So, 21 hours of a day. And at some point, we talked about, oh my gosh, we're sending these kids off into the world and their grad night. And I looked at my husband and I said, oh my gosh, the hypnotists, they, here we do Disneyland, and it's a big deal. But, so many of my hypnosis friends who do stage, they're doing grad night shows. And so commonly, you think about just in that little the interaction that they have at grad night, what these kids are learning about the potential of hypnosis. I know that, so many stage hypnotists, they do such great, boosting the confidence, even for everybody who's in the audience. And so and then of course, many stage hypnotists then see clients. And so what better to learn how to work with teens, and so I thought, oh, this is a really great opportunity for stage hypnotists as well to get some of that, background in working with teens. So
yeah,
I saw you kind of going, oh my gosh, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's smart. Hey, listen, you guys, I just want to recap, and I've created a little bit of confusion to some extent in the way that I frame this, so I want to clear it up. So Brenda's sessions do have, even though she's on the same theme, the same topic, they have 2 different titles. So when you look in your guide, make sure on Friday the 11th, the 4 p.m. is the 1 hour, and that's 10 keys to working with adolescents. On Saturday, in your guide, it doesn't say 10 keys to working with adolescents. It says help teen clients find their power, the specialized needs of your teen clients, and how to help them. So again, she's on the same topic, and she's going more in depth, and she's giving you more in the 2 hour, obviously, than she can in the 1 hour. But don't look them up as the same thing, because you won't find them. So make sure that you're working with that. And the other thing I want to say is, you guys have got to understand, she's very smart that she's done this, because she's right. Like, people aren't doing this in our community very much, and they certainly aren't talking about it even really, let alone doing it. And you want to talk about a marketplace. I mean, we talk about smoking, we talk about weight loss, and we talk about better sleep and better stress, right? Things that everyone needs. Well, everybody's an adolescent at some point. Like, this is a huge market share area that's not going to go away. It's just always going to be there. There's going to be a constant revenue source of people who are moving their kids through that time in their life, and they need help. And it's a real way for you to feel like you're making an impact in the world, and you're making the world a better place. This is a huge, huge opportunity for you to grow your practice and know that every day you're doing something that is making human beings be better, basically, and really helping human beings, live their best life. So very, very cool. Brenda, if people want to learn more about you and what you do, what's a good way for them to do that?
So my website is ochypnotherapy.com. So it's short for Orange County, because that's where I live, is Orange County, California. So www.ochypnotherapy.com. And I'm also, my business name is Healing Path Hypnosis. So my Facebook is actually under Healing Path Hypnosis. And I think that, and my my email is brenda@ochypnotherapy.com as well.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for making this time for me. I'm really glad that you're doing these sessions. They're wonderful.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you in August at the convention, okay?
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Be well.
Okay, you too. Bye.